Okay, Brad. Last game of the week here. We have Seattle minus 2.5 according to Bovada at the Philadelphia Eagles. Matchup wise, and this is a matchup of a game earlier in the season as well. Very interesting matchup. This is how we close the week in the NFL. We get it, I believe, on Sunday night or at least Sunday afternoon. So, what do you think, Brad?
I think Seattle for sure, man. I really do. I like Russell Wilson. He's probably my favorite player, not named Aaron or somebody else on the Packers, right?
Sure.
I love him. I think that Philadelphia, I like Wentz a lot. I do. I think he's really good. I've seen him ball out. I think the Eagles might be worse than everyone assumes because their division was so terrible.
Yeah, that is true.
And what's their record? 8-8?
9-7. They squeaked in 9-7 actually, thanks to the 2 wins. But yeah,
fair enough. Right, and so I think that Seattle is way better than people assume. It's almost like for about 5 years, Green Bay was really good because Aaron was so good. And I think that's where Seattle is now and they're in that current climate. So I like them to go in there and take it.
I think this game is a very interesting game in terms of matchups. The Seattle, they're big. And let me just start with the computer pick. It's scattered, so there's no consensus there. My computer leans Philadelphia. I lean Philadelphia to cover, Seattle to win. Brad, you're taking Seattle, so let me start with that.
Yeah.
So Seattle is one of those interesting teams that their net point margin is low for a team that was 11-5. At the end of the season, they could have been 12-4, even 13-3, relatively easily. But you look at that point variation, and shoot, they could have been 9-7 just as easily. And I think that really, to me, is a respect shot for Russell Wilson because all these kind of close games that they had to win, Russell Wilson got it done. So actually, this is it might sound like a backhanded compliment, but it really is a compliment to this team what they do to get it done. Points per game, Brad, throughout the season. This is a very interesting stat to me, or a comparison of stats. Entire season, home and away, they score 25.6 points per game, give up 24.8, a net of 0.8 of the season. That's not what you would expect of an 11-5 team. On the road, they score 25 points per game, so they're consistent in what they score. Their defense only gives up 21 points on the road. So they're actually better in terms of net margin. Philadelphia, the opposite is true. They actually score more on the road. The offense for Philadelphia is better. The defense for Philadelphia is a little better at home. Philadelphia scores 21 points at home. They give up 16.8 points at home. You look at these nets, and they're pretty dang close. You look at the yards per play. I haven't really delved too deeply into those yet, but they're fairly close as well. I think this is a close game. I think it's a nail-biter. I think Seattle gets it done. I'm not going to bet it because the margin for me is razor thin. I don't see value there, but I see Philadelphia plus 2.5. I think it's a 24-23 game. I think Seattle wins this, steals the game with a field goal late, or maybe shuts down Philadelphia from getting a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. It's something I think it's going to be that close, so I'll stay away from it. I don't like the value, but I would take Philadelphia in this bet. I just don't feel great about it. I'm not spending my money on it. Brad, let me run through quickly. We're kind of getting long in the tooth here. The fantasy football stuff. Russell Wilson's definitely a start, and I think I would spend the money on him. I think he gets at least 3 touchdowns, and I think he's going to have to use his legs because this Philly defense is going to be really nice against the run. So I like that matchup. Now I like Homer and Marshawn Lynch now for Seattle. I think the running game, even as good as Philadelphia is, I think they'll get some volume and some touchdowns. Lockett I like. DK Metcalf could also be a factor, but I don't like anybody else for Seattle. Philadelphia, Carson Wentz, he's a fringe start for me. Look, if you're playing daily fantasy, look at the budget. I don't like the running backs for Philadelphia, but I think I like Boston Scott the best because he'll give you the most value, most bang for your buck. If you're looking at receiver, I don't really like any receiver for Philadelphia outside of maybe Ward, but the key is going to be tight end here. Ertz and Goedert have great matchups against Seattle. Seattle's weakness at defense is tight end. Philadelphia, that's the only way they can move the ball. So the strength and weaknesses line up for a very, very good game this weekend. So like I said, I think it's going to be close. I think there's fantasy value for all of these teams here. But, yeah, man, I think it's going to be a nail-biter and Seattle wins it. That's just how I see it.
Well, that's basically how a lot of their games go. So yeah. That's a safe assumption for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
When you're talking about over a season, only a 0.8. I mean, it's It's so odd. And I started talking about this a couple weeks ago when I started taking a deep dive. I'm like, that can't be right. And I had to double check the source of my information because I was so convinced that was wrong based on their record and how good they were. But it's just like, man, Russell Wilson's getting it done. That's what it tells me. And I agree with everything you said about, Aaron Rodgers carrying that team and making them so good for so long. And I'll say the same. I think that's a perfect comment, Brad. Russell Wilson is willing this team to win. And, quickly, don't bet against Russell Wilson is becoming one of my gamblers' rules because he just keeps them in games they really probably shouldn't.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, Brad, I think that's about it, man. You got any other notes before we watch our first week? Is the Wolf of Tarpon Springs coming into town? That's usually the first week he does, right?
It's either the first or second, so we'll have to see. I don't think it's this weekend, so maybe next weekend.
All right, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, hey, you have a great New Year's. I know you're probably getting ready to go to bed there, and
I am.
Good for you.
Thank
Good
you.
for you. And yeah, man, I'm gonna party hardy. So, well, not really. I'm just gonna have some scotch and cry myself to sleep.
Cool, man. Sounds good. Yeah.
I shaved my beard, Brad, and I discovered I was fatter than I remembered.
Yeah.
So, you can't wait to get back.
End the decade the way you started it.
There you go, man. That's
drunk
good.
and crying.
There you go. All right, buddy. Well, everybody out there, have a great New Year. Let's watch some games. Brad and I will be back next week. We got another 4 games. We'll see what the matchups are. We'll dig into them. But like I said, I have a lot of confidence with my betting during the regular season. But Brad, over time, has beaten the crap out of me in the postseason. So I wouldn't discount his thoughts either. So there you go. It is your niche. All right, man. So, yeah, we'll talk soon. And everybody have a great week. Go out, make some bets, get paid. All right, brother.
All right, homie.
I'll be texting you. Kristen's going to be